Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. I'm Eric, and today joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
Also joining me is David, whose audio is better this time.
Yes, it is. Hi, I'm Windrunner.
Whose audio is hopefully better.
No, it is better. It is better. I already know. We've done it better this time. And I'm Chaos on the forums. We're back. And I know you guys want to talk about more Stormlight, and we do too. Trust me.
Yeah,
we do. But this month, White Sand Volume 2 is coming out on February 20th. So what we wanted to do is do a podcast on Volume 1, and then a little bit later we'll do a Volume 2 podcast. We do want to intersperse some good meaty discussion because we're not done with Oathbringer at all, and this isn't really going to be a multi-podcast series besides each volume episode, I don't think. In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But
we shall see.
There's so much to dive into.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about White Sand, the graphic novel. It was one of Brandon's first novels. But before...
It was the first.
Well,
actually.
The very first.
The original version.
The original version.
White Sand.
Yes.
Then he rewrote it as either his 7th or his 8th.
It was his 8th because Elantris was 6, Dragonsteel was 7, and so this has to be 8 because it wasn't
that makes
5,
sense.
So it has to be 8. But
so it's one of the books that was the foundation of the Cosmere.
Yeah, this was when he was developing the Cosmere because he didn't really have it all nailed down with Elantris. And Brandon's admitted this in interviews, but sometimes he's like, I had it all planned out at Elantris. Like, kinda, but there were some
except
things
for
that
perpendicularities.
Really.
Yeah. I mean, he put Hoyd there, like there's stuff you can see he was starting it. He knew kind of what he wanted.
Yeah, no idea what perpendicular.
No, not at all. But he did expand it out, and it all makes sense. But first, there is some news. Why don't you take us through that, Ian?
Yeah, so there was an interview with Patrick Capera from Crafty Games.
Yay, Patrick!
Who does the Mistborn Adventure game and Mistborn House War.
Also a really nice person.
And he mentioned that there's going to be a new supplement for the Mistborn Adventure game this year titled Nobles, the Golden Mandate.
Was there not already a Noble update? I thought I heard about that.
Nope.
But, okay.
Nope.
I knew there was a Ska one, but...
Yeah, there was a Ska one, and they've been talking about doing a Noble-themed supplement for a while.
A long time ago,
this
when
will
we
be
interviewed them, like, forever ago. They mentioned that, I think.
Yeah.
I bet bands put that on the back burner once they needed to, like, update the Era 2 stuff now that we know so much more. But
for sure.
And they also mentioned that the expansion for Mistborn House War, the Siege of Luthadel,
my favorite part.
This.
That's my favorite part of Era 1, the Siege of Luthadel.
Is there a Zane card in there just for Eric?
You know what? I hope so.
Don't worry, I have not played House War, and so it doesn't matter.
I've heard it's fun.
If you're interested in House War, there was actually a video that Geek and Sundry did.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In their Game the Game series,
cool.
That was an entire. They have a video that explains how to play, and then a video where they actually play it, which was quite enjoyable.
Cool.
So,
okay.
I would be down to play it with you guys if we could do this on Tabletop Simulator. That would be a lot of fun.
There are issues with Tabletop Simulator, though. So.
Yeah, but we are not in the same location, so that'll just have to be how it goes.
We could play it in May with Brandon.
Well, you and I can. You and I can.
We can put Wary on Tabletop Simulator just for him.
Oh, great! That'll work out really great. Yeah. Great plan.
Yeah.
Other
just
news?
Fly me out.
Okay.
To fly me out, so I can just play
do not have the money for games. That. Other news. The Shire Post mint Mistborn coins, which are super awesome. They're really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you didn't back the Kickstarter, you can pre-order them on the Shire Post mint webpage, and so you can just buy them. They say that it's a pre-order now, but they say they'll be shipping February 2018, so basically soonish.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't think we've reported on this because we've been bad at writing news posts, but the Taldain album you can buy as well. You can get it on Spotify, Google Play, all access. I like that.
For whoever has that.
I do. You get YouTube Red with it. I'll shill. But you can buy the Taldain album.
Yep. And the Kickstarter for the Reckoners board game started on the 13th, which is in the past for you, but is in the future.
We record things in advance, slightly.
Sometimes. Yeah.
But it's not the 13th yet, but that will be after this podcast posted. But so it'll be out on the 13th. So
yeah, so go support them.
Yeah. They seem like nice people too.
Oh yeah.
So, White Sand, we've gotten this group of people specifically here for White Sand opinions.
Uh-huh.
Now, before we get started,
Yeah.
we are going to be discussing the prose.
Oh
version.
yeah, we got to talk about the relationship with the prose because Brandon sends out White Sand. He's historically done this. He's also done this with Aether of Night. That's been one of his unpublished works that you can get. And so if you sign up to his newsletter, there's a link to download White Sand, the prose version.
Mm-hmm.
Volume 1 of White Sand is one third of that book.
Which is itself the first of a trilogy.
Great.
That is really the rest of which is unwritten.
Totally unwritten. We have absolutely no idea what that's going to be. So we're not gonna spoil stuff later for White Sand, but we might talk about general impressions of what that book was. I know for me,
we might spoil stuff from later on in the book.
We'll try to avoid getting too plot heavy or give a little notice if we're gonna run into this is what happens.
Yeah, right. And we'll just make spoilers just for White Sand and not other stuff, but we're not gonna go here's the ending of Oathbringer in this White Sand podcast.
Oh no.
So
but the end of the prose we might touch on.
Yeah, we might touch on. It's been a really long time since I've read the prose version, so honestly, me reading White Sand Volume 1, which I read this weekend. I hadn't read it before, so really great.
You finished 5 hours ago.
That's true. Yes, that is correct. I don't really remember the prose version. I remember having opinions on it, though. I
read it relatively recently, so
okay.
I have a fairly strong memory.
How about before we go into the blow by blow, we just go with our quick hot takes on what we thought about White Sand Volume 1.
Okay.
And then we'll go into detail on what happened and stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's not as bad as people say it is.
What about you, David?
I believe that White Sand Volume 1 was an earnest attempt at adapting Brandon's story that suffered from a few flaws that made the characters a lot weaker and really undermined a lot of the world building, which was my favorite part of the original one. So that's my take on it.
I can see that.
That was way nicer than I thought you were going
Me
to
too.
I'm,
I know.
I'm remaining professional. I'm not. It's no fun to just talk trash, but it's not
that'll
my
be later
favorite.
when we get into specifics.
Oh, we'll get into it, but
yeah. I'll say, given that I've been hearing for a long time that David didn't like White Sand Volume 1, I was just I don't want to read it because I'm not a comic person personally, so I haven't really read many graphic novels, and so that was just a lot of inertia. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but it was all right.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of my opinion.
What is your experience with the graphic novels, Ian? Because I also do not read many of them, so that was something I was aware of going into it. Is that it's not my strongest media.
Yeah.
So when I first read this, when it came out a year and a half ago, or over that, which very long time to wait for Volume 2.
Yeah.
They're working on it.
I wasn't as experienced as I am now.
Okay.
I had mostly read the Dresden Files comics, which I quite enjoyed. Since then, I've gotten into DC Comics, so
Yeah, you're into it now. For sure.
I'm into it. I am by no means well read or knowledgeable, but I am reading more comics.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't think anyone can with the long history of comics to really know all the things that have happened. Like, I don't think there's enough time in the
there are people who say they do.
Yeah,
I'm sure. So that's kind of our initial impressions. Let's get into the blow by blow. So we start in chapter 1. The art actually looks pretty cool. One of my concerns going into this was that, like, how cool would a graphic novel be when it's white and sandy, and like how cool could the art be? Whereas something like Stormlight, you know, there's like a lot of really interesting visuals and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the art's pretty good. We're in Kreda, right? Is that they're in like the central part?
Yeah,
now,
Mount
to
Kreda.
touch on the art, it's like, because I do want to say that it's not my favorite art style, but the story is more important anyways. So it's not so bad that I'm like, I hate this and I'm never going to read it. It's just meh.
The art, I feel like the art's a little muddy, like just with like the lining. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of context to really make my thoughts clear, but the art wasn't the greatest. But
the line art isn't as crisp as I like.
Yeah, I kind of have trouble telling the characters apart sometimes, but that is also just a problem that I have with people in general. So I don't know how much of that is just my my face blindness that I believe that I have. So
yeah, like absolutely, like in the first few chapters where all of the Sandmasters are wearing exactly the same uniform with their hoods up.
That's one of those things with a graphic novel. Like, really, we're
and like
all
half
wearing...
of them are bald. So
like I recognize
what
Kenton,
color are their eyebrows?
I recognize Kenton and I recognize Praxton, but I mostly recognize Praxton because he's being mean to Kenton. But wait. So I just have a question with where this book starts, because there's no like, where are they?
They are
here.
In the center of the Dayside continent. Okay. The dead center.
They are in the center. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's a holy place for the Sandmasters. I will add.
Right. Okay.
That there is a map.
Yeah.
That labeled Kreda.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was Kreda, but they were in that area.
Yeah. They're not quite in the Kurla, but I do not know by what geologic process these mountains were created, but I am interested to discover if that is supposed to be magical or if they are really just don't really care about how...
It's all Dragonsteel.
It could be Dragonsteel.
Since the continent is almost perfectly circular, I'm going to say
shards.
Magic.
Yeah. I have never seen sandstone that looks like that over the course of my almost 4-year geology degree, but it is possible.
That's true. You are training to be a geologist, so you do have those things. But how long are they in... I thought they were in the Kurla. Whatever.
They're near the Kurla, but like the Kurla is by definition like deeper sand, and they are where the rock is starting to poke out of it.
Okay, all right, okay. Thanks.
It's not the deepest sand; it's the medium deep sand.
As we will see later,
but not as deep to support it down.
There's a line where it's like, "Oh, the sand's not deep enough to support a town." What does that? The crap does that mean?
It's the Dorum vines, Eric. The ones that carry the water.
There are Dorum vines there.
Yeah, there are Dorum vines there.
Then I have no idea why that sand's not deep enough there.
Yeah, I have no idea. But, because when Kenton says, we're not even in the desert, then that's where there are no Dorum vines. So it makes even less sense. But anyway, my concern with where this is starting, we haven't even talked about anything that actually happens, but as we see, the Sandmasters are not centered here at all. They're not. Their base is not in this holy place. Their base is in Kezare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how long are they there in the year? Was this just to like promote Sandmasters?
Yes. It's just a ceremony.
Okay. All right. Great. All right.
That's where the path is to the Mastral's path that he's running.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a ceremonial thing.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's a company retreat, basically.
I don't know. I got the impression that they were kind of there in a while for a while because Kenton's flashbacks seemed like they were also in that same place and not in like Kesare.
Yes.
I think they were because they were taking the acolytes. Yeah.
All right.
It's not like they stayed there the entire time.
No, I know. It's always just a shock to me when they get to Kesare and then they're like, oh yeah, no, literally all the Sandmasters went over here. We didn't leave a contingent in our giant base or anything. Like, okay, sure. But
and it is kind of odd too, especially if you haven't like read the whole thing to like get a sense of where they are or where they're trying to go if you're immediately in the wrong spot. But,
I had to keep looking at the map because the one thing with like the prose, you can kind of like get that world building and you kind of don't because we did get some. Like, I kind of liked Kenton's internal dialogue. Like, it was okay. Like, I didn't feel totally lost about what was happening. But certainly I was like, where are we? Where are we going? And things like that.
And Brennan has said that's one of his regrets about the graphic novel is that a lot of the world building didn't come through as well as he would have hoped.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a natural consequence of this is a very different medium. Like, you can't do stuff you can do in a prose.
You can't. So anyway, Kenton is upset with his dad because Kenton is training to be a Sandmaster. We realize that Kenton's mom was a Darksider, so there's two sides to the planet. We should probably talk about what Taldain is. That might be good. Taldain is tidally locked, so one side is permanently day and the other side's permanently dark, and so there's day side and dark side. So that's kind of what's happening. And apparently that meant that all of Praxton, the Lord Mastrel's kids had no sand mastery, except Kenton, who had like very limited sand mastery.
Yeah. I'm curious how much of that, if that's like an actual thing, or if that might just be like them being racist in world. You know what I mean? Like
the way like Kenton talks about it, it's like, oh, they're just being racist. But I think there might be something there, like the dark side spiritual DNA interfering with the day side spiritual DNA.
Like that's not that different from like,
Skylight, whatever that is. Yeah. No, I was just curious, but yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'm not like, on the day side, whatever latent ability for sand mastery is there, like you just don't get it if you're mixing with outsiders. But
but it's interesting that because Kenton mentions this in the prose as well, that he's the youngest son.
Yes.
But we really never hear anything about his elder
siblings.
brothers.
Absolutely nothing.
Or what happened to his mother.
Do we even hear
his
about
mother
that in
is
the
dead.
prose?
I'm pretty sure. His mother is dead. His brothers don't come up. I'm curious if they're just like, if they don't care about Praxton, because I recall that he was not a terribly involved father to the sons that did not have sand mastery.
And even in this, they're like, oh yeah, Praxton was like not very good.
Yeah. He's kind of a jerk.
He's not the best father.
He is a jerk.
But maybe if they didn't join the DM, they were just somewhere else in Lysand.
They were raised separately, if I recall, from the prose version. Sense. I don't know if that detail was in the graphic novel, but yeah.
Oh, we will talk about like a comparison with the prose version and this, and do know the prose version isn't canonical, right? Like
it is not.
The stuff that we're talking about in the prose, we're just trying to glean more information because we don't get as much world building in the graphic novel,
and just the processes that change it.
Yeah, right. Anyway, for some reason, when you are inducted to being a Sandmaster and not just an acolyte, once you get your rank, you are frozen in that rank forever. Kenton says, frozen forever. And so Kenton, for the last 6 times or something, refuses a rank. He does not get like the crappy rank that his dad's giving him because Kenton can only control 1 ribbon of sand, right?
Or 1 whirlwind, depending.
They do say ribbons here, but...
I know. I was talking about the way it looks, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so Kenton, whose basic character trait is being rebellious and determined against his dad, really. He decides to go do this challenging thing and do the Mastrel's Path, which involves him needing to collect 5 spheres in a certain time period, and he's not allowed water, which is important because sand mastery requires the use of water. Like you get dehydrated.
Like, your body's water.
It's basically this super challenging test that like only the strongest sand masters can accomplish, and so like not even all of the mastrals are capable of it.
Right, and everyone's like trying to talk Kenton to not do this, right? Oh, they also talk about slatrification. So one of the Sandmaster abilities is controlling sand. Crazy, I know. With various ribbons. And then the other one is turning sand to water,
which you have to be very powerful to do.
Yes, and Kenton...
Which is called slatrification. But
yes. And Kenton even says that doesn't seem related to the other Sandmaster abilities. But apparently, during the Mastral's Path, you don't get your water bottle because if you're a pro Mastral, you'll just slatrify and get water for it. Like, that was the indication that I got.
Yeah, which I'm curious because I guess there's not, like, diminishing returns on that. You know, like, if you can get more water than you're losing, you know what I mean?
We have very little information about how slatrification works. We didn't get much of that in the pros at all anyway, so...
Yeah.
Because Kenton couldn't do it there either, so... Anyway, so he goes in the Mastral's Path. He fights this big creature. He's pretty pro. Oh, he also gets a sword, which is... he had a sword. Which the other Mastrals didn't like.
Yeah.
No one really likes it. But...
Kenton does. He's a fan of the sword.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Kenton is someone. Yes, that's true. But there's this big sand monster and...
Called a Sandling.
Called a Sandling, yes.
Not a Kremling. No relation.
Not a Kremling. Totally different. It does look pretty cool. And Kenton... What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to slatrify to create some water, which will then dissolve the Sandling's armor, and then it will just leave. That's what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Sandlings evolved, like, to, like, they're not liquid-based at all. They have, like, blood gas or something.
Oh, is that in the pros? Because that wasn't really clear. Oh.
I think, I think when he stabs it, like, there is some, like, jetting of gas, but I don't recall specifically.
Oh,
it's kind of subtle, but yeah.
One of my criticisms is that the Kremling is drawn very clearly to have saliva in its mouth, which... No.
I mean...
Like, it shouldn't have
Before
that.
you said that about the pros version, I'm like, our artistic license and stuff. But if they specifically have, like, gas for blood and weird crap, they would not have saliva, right?
Maybe it's like an alcohol base, like it's a different liquid.
You know what I'm going to say?
But I think all liquid dissolves them.
Oh, is that true? Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know if they ever poured oil on anything during this, so I'm not sure.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think we know about oil.
I'm just gonna say spiritual realm mumbo jumbo. Great, we solved it. That's the solution to everything.
I think that's more biological than spiritual.
That was just a joke that everything you can just whisk away with the spiritual realm.
Yeah, it's just if you think about it and you get your cognitive aspect in the right spot, you can just have saliva if you want, and you're a Sandling. It's that easy.
That's right. You just really believed it. Anyway. Yeah. Kenton, instead of doing this, totally just kills this Sandling. And when he gets back, he's like, "Oh wait, we got to be careful here," because he wakes up, and in the scene where he wakes up in chapter 2, we see above like the place where he's recovering a radio for some reason.
Is it? How clearly is it a radio? Because I don't recall. Is it like... Because I remember it looking kind of like a boombox, but I wasn't sure. Is there like a mic on it?
Okay.
Well, I don't know if there was like a microphone or not, was what I was curious about.
Let me go back. I have the ebook.
Whatever it is, it is
looks
not...
like radio-like equipment.
It looks a lot like a boombox that has a radio component, is all I'll say.
Yeah.
Very incongruous to everything else.
It like has a screen. It looks like there's nearly knobs, but like that's kind of the thing with the art. It's a little muddy, so it's not
and
like
there are cables coming out of it.
Yeah, I
There
just
are
don't...
cables coming out of it, actually. Yeah.
I know. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know Brandon does try to, like, not make technology necessarily run directly linearly to how it does on Earth, because
I don't remember the pros when they went to their sacred Mastral promoting trials and was like, but wait, I forgot my boombox.
You gotta call them up on the radio.
I don't remember that part.
And like, maybe it's dark side technology, but there's some dark side influence, but not that much. And they have really basic guns, so if they had like a fairly modern looking radio as well, that would be a little bizarre to me.
Well, it's not a modern looking radio.
But like,
it's like from like the 50s.
I know, but like I have a boombox that looks like that. So, you know, like those are still in use.
As we will learn later, even Darksiders only had guns for like a century.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Like guns were invented a long time ago. So, you know, radio technology is a bit different. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Seems pretty incongruous, especially in the Sandmaster area where there has been absolutely no evidence of technology at all. Zero evidence.
It's like Hoyd's boombox, you know, and he's just like, and that's his cameo for this. He just left it there, you know.
He's that guy on the page, and he's like, I'm guarding my boombox. I'm lending it to you, Mastrals, now, but
I'm gonna get it back.
Yeah. This is how I record my letters. I just say it into a radio, and then I send a boombox to another location, and that's how the other shards hear me. Seems good. It's all just radio tech. Anyway, he survived, but some people are pissed off because he killed the sanding, which was separated from the deep sands, and no one knows how it got there. And so now basically Kenton ruined the Mastral's path because he murdered it.
Which is... I get that. Sometimes Kenton is a little annoying. I understand why they don't like him sometimes.
Yes, there is one part where I was like, dude, that was like really mean. And even if you realized it a page later, like that was a dick move.
Yeah.
Like,
I think from like knowing where this story is going, I like that he killed it as like a metaphor where like the way of the old Mastrals is gone now.
I do like that, actually.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, anyway, also, before this, we've seen one reference to someone named Dryle, who is important, who's another Mastral. But apparently he has been caught selling his Sand Mastery.
Or planning to sell.
Or something like that, in some mercenary way.
Mm-hmm.
Which
because,
is
like,
not a thing you're
the Sandmasters are very full of themselves. Is like, oh, we don't sell our services. We're just awesome.
It's not really clear what they would do day to day in Kezare.
I feel like they just like hang out and like aren't nice to people, you know? Like,
pretty much, that's what they do.
Well, I mean, I get that, but like,
they really don't do anything.
No, I
they
know,
train.
But right. So we'll get to what happens in a sec. Anyway, Dryle's demoted, which has never happened.
One thing about Dryle and this could be nothing and me just reading too much into something, but I think it's in the White Sand graphic novel as well. Like when they're picking him out in the very beginning and they're like, ooh, this is Dryle, son of Reinst Dryle, a profitable catch in more ways than one. And that is never addressed again. I was always curious if that was like a thread for like a sequel or like how his father was going to be relevant in this story. And it is never brought up again.
That's definitely the smoking gun that I'm really yearning for in the sequel.
Well, yeah, but I was just like, it felt like a little nod to, oh, remember that name, you know, but like there's never any follow-up.
Then Praxton does technically give Kenton the rank of Mastral, but basically says, hey, everyone's going to think that I just gave it to you because you're my son, and not actually think that you're awesome. And it's like, yeah.
And everyone's going to hate you for it.
Yeah. I wonder if Praxton could not have simply just like had a little sit down with Kenton and been like, hey, just want you to know, like, this is why I can't make you a Mastral. Do you understand? And Kenton would be like, yeah, I understand.
Praxton is not a good dad. All of his other sons are raised separately. That's not great.
Yeah, I don't think it would like even occur to him that would be an option.
I know, it makes me sad.
He's one of the bad dads of the Cosmere. Let's just put it that way.
He is not
early
the High Prince of Dads by any stretch of the imagination.
Then during the ceremony, randomly, all of them are attacked. That's what happens. And
by Kirstians. who hate Sandmasters.
Because they're unholy. I
yes.
think.
Oh,
yeah.
there was actually one interesting thing before all the Sandmasters die. Spoiler, they all die in this attack. Except like Kenton and like a few others and Dryle. But
Of
his
course.
dad dies and everyone dies. Apparently that everyone like got dehydrated and Kenton thinks that like they got poisoned.
Yes.
So for that. But there was one line how apparently Sandmasters are atheists, but they still turn to the Sandlord, which is like, because they reference the Sandlord. It's not. I never really found them particularly atheist, and why they had to be.
I think it's more that like they themselves, like they're not atheists in the sense that like Yasna is an atheist. Like, their organization is technically atheist because like they don't follow the will of the Sandlord. But culturally, like they all grow up in a culture that does revere the Sandlord.
Yeah, so
it's
probably different than saying like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Like it's I don't think it was.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think they're also, I don't even think they could be religious officially, even if they wanted to be, because I'm pretty sure the Kirstians, like, church would not allow them to be and be Sandmasters.
It's not really
Yeah.
quite clear.
Yeah.
You also said that there was a comment about Kirstians and their technological level.
Yeah, so Christians are actually like compared to Lost Sand, like they're the technologically advanced ones on the on day side.
Yeah, that
It's just like a very different kind of technology than what we are accustomed to.
that definitely does not come through in the graphic novel because they look like random barbarians.
Yeah.
That's what they look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lost Sand is like a relatively poor country compared to the Kirstians because they do not have as much because they don't have the deep sand and they're reliant on regular farming. As opposed to,
whatever the crap Kirstians do, I guess.
I don't know where they get their food. I mean, I assume it just comes
They
up out of the
farm
sand.
like sandlings and stuff.
Yeah, they eat the paste that they make after they melt them.
That sounds delicious.
There's a lot of bugs
pour
in
water
this.
on sandlings and then bake the remains.
And it's not good, but
Yeah. But basically, all the
It's food.
Sandmasters die. Except Kenton. Oh, Praxton, like, does a death wail and, like, wrecks people.
which was
But-
cool.
yeah.
It was cool, except that I guess just, like, murdered everyone, including a lot of Kirstians. But Kenton, this is the part that annoys me. So, Chapter 3.
Before we get to
Okay.
chapter 3,
All right,
I have
all right.
another comment.
Okay, all right, great. Great.
And it's one of my criticisms that the battle is not really clear what's going on. You really don't see much sandmastering at all.
Yeah, because Kenton's like, oh yeah, you guys, you gotta use ribbons, not walls. And I'm like, great, I totally know all about those reading the graphic novel. Like,
Yeah,
I
and it's
really
like-
don't.
Yeah.
There's at one point where like they're all sandmastering, but like the panel ends like before you see any of it. So it's just
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah, they
think the
literally
battle-
have their hands stretched forward, and then the panel ends. I just saw it. Oh my god.
So I think the battle could have been really awesome if we could actually have seen Sandmastery and actually could tell what was happening.
Yeah, and the battle was like pretty cool in the prose version, from my recollections
It
as
was
well
pretty
too.
cool
because
I
you
think
do
it's still
get
pretty cool here. But
but you get like a little more of Kenton, like showing himself as a leader. Even then, like organizing the Sandmasters who are like having trouble, like realizing that they can't use their sand as they normally would to defend themselves. And Kenton, who is used to not being able to do that, is giving them tips and kind of like organizing a little resistance.
they do that here too. Like I think it
A little bit.
a little bit. It was a longer scene in the prose, and
Sure, I mean, with a lot of this stuff, like it's being compressed, but like they that does come through. Whereas Kirstian technology definitely does not come through, right?
Like they have pneumatic.
But I don't think that really
arrow
ever
shooters,
came through in the prose either.
No, that's true. I totally forgot.
Oh,
but it's
really?
been years since I
thought
read
it did a little better from Chris's early POVs, but we can
It's
talk about
been
Chris
a
more
long
later.
time
Oh, yeah,
since
yeah,
I've read
yeah.
the
I read it
prose,
within
to
the
be
last
honest.
year, so I remember it
Yes.
fairly well.
It's been a really long time for me, and I'm like, I don't want to read that again, personally. But so Kenton bursts from the sand. It's a pretty cool looking scene, but everyone's dead. Somehow he's been alive in the sand for like a while, because he says that the Kirstians, it was long enough for the Kirstians to remove the bodies of their dead for proper burial in the deep sands. But apparently no Sandmasters survived or anything, and Kenton didn't suffocate to death being buried under sand somehow. I don't know. I think that's a plot hole. I don't understand how this happened at all, really, personally.
He could have just passed out on top of the sand, and it wouldn't have looked as cool, but it made a lot more sense.
He was bursting from the ground.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That like they could have very easily have changed that just one small detail to like make people not go, "Well, how is he alive?"
It's not the fact that he's alive. It's just that there's an indication that a lot of time has passed.
That's what I'm saying, though. Is that like he's alive after like
a long
probably
time.
6 hours? You know, like 5 minutes. I could see him surviving under the sand. But,
right? Yeah. Totally. Anyway, so apparently the Kirstians did that. I don't know. I don't think that makes any sense at all, but sure, great.
Maybe he can draw strength from the sand as a Sandmaster, you know, and it's just like Stormlight.
I don't think that's I don't remember that being an ability that Sandmasters.
It was in the prose version, I'm sure. No, I'm kidding. It's not. Fun fact.
And so basically Ken is like, oh my god, they're all dead. And then we meet Darksiders, who are just coincidentally here, I guess. But okay.
There's like a reason that was in the
prose version.
Remember there being a reason that I do not remember, but
yeah, because in the prose version we get a whole like sequence of Kriss POVs that lead up to this.
Mm-hmm. It really was still more or less happenstance, even in the prose version, because they had accidentally killed their guide by that point, and they were just wandering around lost. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out on the map. Oh, anyway. Kriss is coming from Darkside, and one of the sad things with this is that we don't get to see those early Kriss POVs, which were pretty cool, in my opinion. Like, the first Kriss chapter where they're going from Darkside to Dayside was really cool. Just seeing that, it was really cool, high fantasy stuff. But looking at the map, I'm like, where did Kriss land, and why are they in the center of the desert? And
she landed on the border ocean coast.
That is not descriptive at all.
I know, I was making a joke. They landed somewhere in not one of the small kingdoms or Lost Sand. And it's about as good as we know.
So they've been traveling through Kursta the entire time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They landed in Kursta.
They're trying to get to Lost Sand. I think they took a poor route.
Okay. All right. Again, not described in the graphic novel at all. So
yeah, and they also can't navigate, which they do touch on later. They don't know how to find themselves.
That they do.
So.
That they do, but it's all right. Fine. They're there. That's fine. You know, for Kriss being such a prominent character, I don't know. It was interesting to see this rendition of Kriss. I don't know. I got used to her appearance because I mean, we all know she's dark skinned. Like we know that, but I don't know. Her entrance is pretty cool, but also
like she's
simultaneously jarring to me. I don't know.
This is young socialite Kriss. This is not Kriss, writer of the Ars Arcanum.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, that's what she is. She writes the Ars Arcanums in the end of the book for people who are still figuring out.
Literally the most important person in this book.
She is critical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's the one that knows the most about how the Cosmere works. Later on in her life.
Yeah.
More than Hoyt, even.
I think Kriss's first appearance was jarring for me as well, and in part because, and maybe they've changed her character pretty drastically for the graphic novel intentionally, but from having read the prose version first, she was kind of like, she was not really a socialite back in LA. She was kind of like a nerdy university scholar who was not well known in the court, so she wouldn't really behave like that. Which is why it surprised me.
Honestly, I think really just the very first panel that Kriss appears, where she has this weird pose that would be like a socialite, but in her dialogue that there's really not.
Yeah, it was just a weird introduction.
Like, it's I think she's still a noble, so like there is a measure of socialite to her just naturally.
It's like she was getting off the catwalk, though. You know, like a little bit.
The initial pose is like, yeah, look how awesome I am, but like that doesn't actually come across in there. And like I got used to her appearances as this went on. Like, okay, that's Kriss. All right, that's fine. We also meet a bunch of other Darksiders. Yeah,
including Bayonne, who is one of
blunt.
Yeah, he's one of the people in the Ishik interlude in Way of Kings.
Yep.
One of the 3 people looking for Hoyd.
Yep. So he is eventually a world hopper. Then we get confused with these other 2 professors who really don't have much defining character traits in this volume. But cool.
They are better characterized in the prose as separate people, but yeah.
If you're reading this, like, there's Cinder, and then there's John, and
John
like,
Akron.
Great. I definitely know all about these 2 people.
And one of like the issues like later on is that the dialogues tags get swapped, so because like
so even
the one we thought was Cinder refers to the other one as Cinder or something.
Yeah. They were such memorable characters, you know, that it was hard. Like they really get one memorable interaction when they get to like the dark side thing at Kezare, but before then, like I don't know who these people are. I don't know.
It's not even clear that they're like real characters. You know what I mean? But
no, they're just like in Kriss's entourage, right?
Yeah. So there's, so basically, Kenton stumbles into one of the Sandmaster tents and just passes out, and he awakes to like voices speaking dynastic, which is a Darksider language.
Yes.
And he mentions that it's been 2 years since he heard someone speak dynastic.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who was the last person he heard speak dynastic? His mother? Is that when his mother died?
You wouldn't really say it's 2 years since I heard someone speak dynastic. Wouldn't you say, it's been 2 years since I heard my mother talk in dynastic?
Yeah,
like,
and I guess, I
guess. Just be
and like his brothers probably know it. I don't know what relationship he has with his siblings, but like
they probably would.
They should all. I mean, even Braxton probably should know dynastic if he loved and married this woman. I don't know. I assume he wasn't thrown around dynastic with the already unsavory connection that it brought to him. But
I guess I would like more information on Braxton and
how he met this dark side woman and married her.
It does seem like we don't get any of that because he's dead. But
yeah, I don't think it's that unusual that he fell in love with the Darksider woman, because like there are a ton of Darksiders.
Yeah, that's true.
On Dayside.
There are a lot more than people expect, yeah.
He doesn't strike me as a particularly sentimental or kind or like loving man, so I could see him like not...
Maybe he got burned.
He must have changed.
Maybe he got burned.
He took one chance on love.
Yeah, and then he got bitter, you know?
That's possible.
I don't know. We're just theorizing on character stuff.
Yeah, and this is stuff that would have been awesome to see in future volumes, like of this trilogy that Brennan had initially. You know, like it's possible that we were going to touch on this at some point, and Brennan just never got to it. You know.
Oh, Kriss or Krissala, her full name, is a Duchess of Elise, which is a dark side place. So great, cool. And then eventually, Kenton becomes Kriss's guide, and they're trying to go to Los And.
Okay, so we actually like learn a little bit about the ecology of Dayside.
That's true.
With the Dorim vines.
That's true.
Because like they're like almost out of water, and Kenton's like, how are you almost out of water? You are not even in the desert. Like there's water all around. Because like they don't know about these things called the Dorim vines, which are underneath the sand that like carry water inside themselves to protect themselves against sandlings. Because like if a sandling tried to like eat the vine, the water would be released and it would melt the sandling's face.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which the sandling doesn't want.
Yep.
So it's basically you pour out some water and the vine comes up to like absorb it.
Yep.
And you just grab the vine and cut it and pour out, get some more water.
It is,
which is a lot of water, but
ecology thing. We also see Kriss's party on these tonks. They're kind of cool looking.
They're like horse sandlings.
They weren't quite how I imagined them, but like that's just like what's going to happen when you're imagining something in your head, I suppose.
they were weird.
I want them to look cooler,
So-
but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, they looked fine. They weren't horses, so that's fine. Like anything when we get movies, because eventually we will get movies. Eventually,
Do you really? I hope so.
I think so. We're gonna get something, and we're gonna get upset because like that looks weird. I don't know. Maybe we'll get used to it and be like, that is not how this happened, and so we just gotta realize that that's like a different thing, and it's a visual medium and stuff. So things are gonna.
I'm
be
accepting
a little
it. It's jarring
know.
to see something that you visualized in your head, like
Yeah.
as an image for the first time.
Well, really, just like Kriss in general. Like, oh, you're not really how I appeared, but I mean,
I
I
actually
mean,
like the way she looked, but I was actually
it
a pretty big
just
fan
took
of
me
that.
a bit to like get used to her appearance, I guess, because
Yeah,
she's just
her
a really
design was
important.
interesting.
She's just a really important person in the Cosmere, and so I'm just like, oh, this is what she looks like. Okay,
Yeah,
whereas like
and-
Kenton, I didn't like.
Yeah.
Kenton's Kenton,
And she's
I didn't
also
really have
like
a
the
problem.
first character you see that is not wearing a white robe, so that is just going to jump off the page a little bit.
Well, we did get a few pages of the other things. We got to go faster through this.
Okay, one more thing.
Yes.
That, so when Kenton is pouring out the water, so this was actually something from the prose version that may or may not have made it into the graphic novel, but I don't see why it wouldn't. Is that when you pour water on the white sand, it turns black.
Oh, that's true. That's actually
And
really
that-
important.
Yeah,
'Cause
for the
that does not
magic,
happen
for the ecology.
That's what happens after you master the sand. It turns black.
It turns black as well,
Yes.
yeah.
That never happened in this at all.
No.
Yeah, no, it's mentioned.
Is it?
It's mentioned. Yes.
We don't see it. We don't see
We
the
don't
sand
see
being
it.
black.
We see like vaguely grayish sand at
but
a couple points,
Yeah.
but it's not really like remarked upon.
I
Yeah,
always,
even
and it's not really clear in the art.
Yeah.
yeah. If I saw it, like I would, because you have this great dichotomy with hey, the white sand, and then it's black. Like I thought that would look visually striking, right? So it's just weird that like I don't remember that at all happening on screen. So at least that's what I would expect. All right. Then Kriss is also looking for sand mages. This is important.
Mhm.
And Kenton deliberately decides to not tell Kriss that he is a sand.
Well, like originally,
master.
like it's like he doesn't understand what she's talking about.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like he's not familiar with the word she's using.
Yeah.
So
word
like
mage,
he's not
yeah.
like deliberately being deceptive. He's genuinely has no idea what she's talking about.
Well, later, I mean, yeah.
Later on, I think he figures it out.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
because it's like because to him like sand mastery is just a thing. It's not magic.
It's just
Right.
yeah.
So, like-
right. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that does come across a little stronger in the prose version as opposed to the graphic novel that he has no idea what she's talking about initially. But yeah.
And then they talk about how he can navigate, and he talks about like when the sun is like in the same place your entire life, you can tell like minute changes of like its direction.
Yeah.
And so he has something very interesting to say. Here on Dayside, the sun is king. Currene philosophy, the religion of Christians, calls the sun the manifestation of the Sandlord, the source of man's autonomy and independence. Even Daysiders who don't worship the sun feel some spiritual bond with it.
That is obvious.
Blatant.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
we?
So if you don't know, the shard on Taldain is named Autonomy,
Yeah.
and the sun is the source of the investiture for the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is apparently not obvious to Kriss, but whatever. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
She hasn't started studying it yet.
I know.
Is there a consensus on? Because for the longest time I was hearing autonomy is in the star or is like directly like making the sunlight magic and like you could use that from another planet. But then later I've seen Brandon say that autonomy is in the atmosphere, which would make sense with all these faces we keep seeing in the clouds. So
Which we will talk about later.
okay.
It's unclear because
Yeah.
he has said you can use the light from the star anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can see the light you can get a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So who knows?
The star, evidently a construct of autonomy, though. I don't think that was this obvious in the.
I don't think
prose
it's
version.
necessarily a construct of autonomy.
Well,
it could just be invested.
The system
Invested,
is
yeah,
the system
invested
is
with autonomy.
almost
Sorry,
definitely
yeah.
a construct, but
Yes, that's what I mean, Ian. Yes, you're correct. But I don't remember this autonomy name drop obvious in the press.
Oh,
I
don't
Well,
recall
at
that at
point,
all.
I don't think it was named.
It was.
They only finalized it for the graphic novel.
Well, I think we
really?
learned about it in the Shadows of Self release, which was 2015. That's when he name dropped it for the first time.
Because, like, he turned to Isaac and asked, like, do you want to canonize this now?
Oh, I guess that's true. They would have been working on it.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That line's not in the prose.
As the person
That's
who
been added.
transcribed that, like,
Yeah, that's true. You did do that.
it was for the graphic novel.
There you go.
Alrighty.
So there's another scene where we get some more information about politics and how something changed with the Kirstians and how their Akar destroyed the Sand Masters, and supposedly the Sandlord is very pleased with the Akar, the high priest of the Kirstians. Apparently. Which I thought was interesting because, like, as we know, Autonomy has lots of avatars. I guess the Sandlord is this.
Mhm.
Well, I think Sandlord is just autonomy.
I'm curious if that is what it
I
is.
don't
Like, if it's
know.
just autonomy, or how much of autonomy is even on the planet. Like, I don't
It's
even.
really not clear.
It's all up in the air right now. I
It's
think,
really
at
not
least in my
clear.
mind.
But I was wondering if there was, like, the Akar is talking to the Sandlord in some aspect, right? Like,
It's
It would not floor
entirely
me.
possible.
Yeah.
it could just be the Akar, is just making it up for propaganda reasons, but
Yeah.
you can definitely talk to these things. It's not impossible here. We know the Sandlord, there is a shard here, and she likes to meddle and stuff. So, yeah. So we got that. Kirstians attack again because they realize that Kenton Sash is a Mastral staff, and they're trying to kill all the Sandmasters. They actually attack twice. They attack twice.
Do they really?
Um,
Wow.
Well, there's one time where Kirstian in the town thing tries to steal the sash.
Well, no, he's just trying to pickpocket Kenton, and the sash
Is
comes with the coin purse. Yeah.
That's what I recall, but
That's very clearly what happens.
Okay. All right. All this is being cut. I definitely know what happened in this. Okay, then the Kirstians attack. All right, so they only attack once. And then Kenton realizes that he does not have sand mastery. He cannot master sand anymore. Which, in the graphic novel, really comes out of nowhere. Really.
Well, this is the first time he's tried to...
I guess.
kind of.
Theoretically, this is the first time he's tried to master sand since waking up.
Except for that weird little scene. But
Except
yeah.
for, like, one
Yeah.
time where he kind of masters sand. But
Yeah. But maybe his
PR
body
is
hadn't
unclear.
realized he'd overmastered. I don't know. Like, yeah.
Right. Let's talk about overmastery. What's overmastery?
So overmastery is it is very similar to savanthood in. Okay.
Okay, at
Wait,
this
here, actually,
point...
should we not spoil this or not, Eric? Sorry,
we
we'll
should
pause
not
this.
spoil this.
Because
At this point,
Mhm.
not that it has been explained in the graphic novel, but as Kenton understands it, if you push yourself, if you sandmaster too much,
dehydrated, you
if you
die.
get like slightly to the brink of dying, like you burn out your sandmastery and you can no longer sandmaster.
Great.
which is what Kenton believes has happened to him.
Yes.
Maybe in the prose. It's not. He has absolutely no idea in the graphic novel.
Really?
at all.
Okay.
No clue. Overmastery is not referenced in this context at all.
No,
Okay.
it isn't.
It's not.
That is so bizarre to me. All right.
Yeah.
At least I don't think it is.
It's
No,
such a
it's-
huge
it's
plot.
definite-
It's such a
it's-
huge plot point.
No, it's
I don't know
super
how they're going to change
random.
it.
No,
Yeah.
because later he's gonna get his sand mastery back, and he never references overmastery. It's like a total Spider-Man 2, where it's like, I lost my powers. Why? I don't know, but I lost
forgot
them.
about that. That was a weird thing that happened.
In that movie, yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
But it's exactly like that in this, and it just doesn't feel like it makes sense. But so I'm glad that there is overmastery there. And like they do reference overmastery earlier, but just not in this context at all.
Huh.
Mhm.
That might be part of maybe it was them trying to condense it and they were just thought that
Yeah.
that connection would be made. Maybe.
I don't know. Um.
I'm trying to give them as much slack here as someone who hates this can.
Kriss swears by Shella, which is I don't know what that means.
I think it's just a dark side deity.
Swear, yeah, or deity, yeah.
I still know
probably
who
autonomy too, but you know.
who Aisha is. Is that still? Because that's still a few times. Is it
Aisha?
not?
I think that just means lord.
Oh, does it? It might be because Taisha. That could be what
I
that
think
is.
it's same linguistic roots.
I never picked up on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Brandon is pretty good with the linguistics.
Yeah, no, Brandon is pretty
Now.
good. That's why we like him. So
Yeah. I mean, he tried with Elantris. Bayon shoots the Kirstians with a gun because he has that, and Kenton's like, "Whoa, I've never seen this before."
And he compares it to like something that the Christians do have, the Zinkalin, or I'm probably not saying that, which is like an air-powered gun.
which is again pretty advanced and like should be an indication that they are a little more
Do they
advanced
reference that in
technology.
here?
I think so.
I believe they did. I don't know if they got into the pneumatic aspect of it or if they just had like some arrow shooters on their wrists, but they are you pump them up. It's
Because
kinda-
I think Kenton asks like if his gun is air-powered.
Yeah,
he probably
remember
does.
that in the prose. Now that you mention it, but I'm trying to find where they say that after Bayon shoots him.
it's not easy to text search a graphic novel
No,
either.
it
Oh
really
yeah,
isn't.
like
Yeah.
Kenton asks Kriss like, does it Kriss is explaining like gunpowder, like in guns. It's like Kenton's like, does it use air pressure? No, it relies on a type of explosive called gunpowder.
Which this right here is a classic example of my biggest problem, in that we have all these really cool world building details that we're talking about right now, but most of them we're pulling directly from the prose that did not get well explained or were not evident at all in the graphic novel. So,
One thing I did like is that the group of Kirstians that attacks, like there are very clearly like female characters there.
Yeah,
mhm.
that's
It's
Yeah.
not all just men.
Yeah, well, that wasn't super obvious. And then we just cut to them getting to where they need to go, to Kezare, which that's how I want to pronounce it, so there.
Yeah. And it actually
I
looks
say-
pretty. It looked
I will
cool.
point out
Yes.
that on this I say Kazare, and this
Cool.
is a reversal of Nail versus Nale.
I'm a
That's
big
true,
fan of Nale.
but-
I'm a big fan of Nale still. I think that's the way it should be said.
I mean, yeah, but Brandon says nails, so that's how it
But
goes.
Brandon doesn't say names right either. Like Brandon, if anyone asks Brandon, how do you pronounce this? Half the time he goes, whatever you think is right is right.
Well, that's
So.
true. That you're not wrong, but I don't know. Deserty vibes, like Scheherazade, Kezare. I don't know. That's where I'm going with this. Okay, in this pronunciation, it seems to make
Either
sense.
way, Kezare looks really cool in the graphic novel.
It
and I
does,
enjoyed
but
that.
I am annoyed how Kenton is like, we're not even in the desert, and we just cut the entire desert part out of it. But well, you know,
Because
whatever.
I don't think anything happens in the desert.
Well, yeah,
No.
but like.
Mhm.
He's all saying, "Oh, we're not even in the real desert. Like it's gonna be some hard journey." But no, we're totally fine. No problem at all.
Well, I'm not sure if they ever
Because like
if
he's
they ever
lived
go
in the
into
desert
real
his entire
desert.
life.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess.
he knows how to handle it.
I guess. Yeah. So Kezare does look really cool.
Especially compared to the desert, which is not the most dynamic of landscapes.
I
Sometimes
think
it's
it
just
looked
sand.
best in the Mastral's Path. Like that looked really cool.
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Like that
Mhm.
was well designed.
Yeah. It was at least visually interesting to look at.
Yeah. Right. Whereas like
yeah.
without that specific attention. Yeah. Oh wow, it's desert. Crazy.
Yeah.
Kenton leaves Kriss, so they split up. Kriss is gonna go find the dark side section of the city. And then we meet someone completely different from everything else that is happening. We meet Ice.
Ice.
That's how I say it.
Ice, great.
Which is kind of
cool.
funny because they're in the desert, but
I kind of want to put a long A there just because Brandon loves that, but whatever.
Well,
ice. Yeah.
because Brendan does pronounce AI as like A. Like he says shy, shay,
Yeah, he
and
does.
it's like sky, skay.
It could be Ace.
No.
It could be Ace. I don't know. Either way, I'm gonna say
like
Ice
Ice.
because that's how my head has it. But
Yeah. Anyway, she had her gender switched from the prose to this.
which was a good move. I really.
I think
enjoyed
it's cool. I think it's really
Mhm.
cool. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So like in the prose, there was a lot of people were complaining about Ice becoming female because like they didn't think it made sense with the Kirstian like outlook on like females from the prose version. But I don't think that necessarily I don't think that made the transition because we do see female warriors earlier.
Yeah. And I
Is
mean,
she
like,
Kirstian? Is that what this is supposed
Yes,
to be?
she's Kirstian.
yeah,
Okay,
she's
okay.
Kirstian. That's her whole conflict is religious.
No, I realize that, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was a good idea, and I thought that like, especially like with Brandon, like his comments on Mistborn, like looking back on it, how he's like, man, I really wish I could have gotten the crew to be a little more gender even,
Yeah.
like maybe turning Ham into a woman. So
Yeah.
I like that he came back here and like was able to change a little bit of his earlier writing.
Yeah, because if you're just writing books, you learn, and now
as,
you'll be
as one does. Yeah.
as one does. Oh, I'm gonna stand by my Kezare pronunciation because Ice is trying to find Sharazan, and I think those naming conventions fit, so that's how I'm gonna say it. So there. But yeah, we really don't see too much. She's hunting that person, and then we get a scene break. So this really just comes out of left field. Great, cool.
And it came out of left field in the prose.
Yeah.
Glad they
too.
spruced that up. That's my worry, that the graphic novel doesn't actually fix the actual problems of the novel. Actually, that's my worry with these. So
Yeah, I agree, and I also kind of think that Brandon has improved a lot as a writer, and they did take a lot of his dialogue directly from White Sand, but Brandon, especially early on, dialogue was not his strongest suit, and so
yeah,
that, if anything, I was like, maybe this dialogue could use he's gotten much better,
punching
I
up.
think, at dialogue and characterization.
100%.
Yeah, but I think they might have stolen the weakest element from the original draft, perhaps.
the words. Then Kenton gets to the DM, which is where the Sandmasters live, and it's totally empty except for some acolytes, so they literally just took all the Sandmasters to there. Great, makes sense. We don't need to defend that place. Sure.
Well, I don't think it's not like people are, of course, in their mind, no one's going to attack it.
Yeah. They're on, they are the high nobility,
Yeah, that doesn't mean when you go on a retreat, you just empty the entire place.
Well, they
you
left
have
the
a
acolytes
contingent
behind to run it.
No, they didn't leave the They took the acolytes.
No,
with them.
Oh, they did. You're
The
right. No,
acolytes
those are just
ran away back there. It doesn't make any sense.
Because they were way out. They were there too. Because I didn't see
Yeah.
him become a Mastral. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter if they wouldn't be attacked. You don't have your entire citadel and just say, you know what? We don't need any guards. Just screw it. Anyone can walk up. Doesn't matter.
The point is that the Sandmasters are so arrogant that they would think that.
Yeah, and the other thing
Which is stupid.
that I can't remember
It is.
that
but
I can't
it's-
remember if this comes across in the graphic novel or not, but a Sandmaster in the prose can literally commandeer anything he wants from any person at any time and
Oh,
wait indefinitely to pay them back. And so
I do
I'm sure they're
remember
not
that.
really
That's right.
concerned about possessions so much when
Oh,
you can
that's
walk
true.
into any clothing
And-
store and be like, make me a whole new white robe.
and granted,
you know.
the DM, you need to get Sandmastery to get to the upper levels.
where the nice stuff
Yeah.
is. No one
Sure.
cares about the acolytes.
I just think it's weird that you would... It doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. That is still stupid, Sandmasters. And Praxton, you gotta...
They are stupid. They're that's
Is
part of
young.
the thing. They're
I
arrogant.
think that is you're justified, but that's just how they are.
Yeah.
This
They're-
is a
they're-
crappy operation, and you don't just leave your base with nothing there.
The
That's
Sandmasters have made a lot of mistakes over the past few
Stupid.
centuries.
That's so dumb. But they do this every year.
I know,
Do you
but I don't think anything. I really think
Yeah.
you might be underestimating how bulletproof the Sandmasters are in Los Angeles society.
I guess.
They have.
It hasn't been made clear in the graphic novel
No.
yet.
No.
Yes.
It is much more clear in the prose version.
Mm,
Great.
Though I think most of that comes after this point.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
It is.
it makes sense
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
would think
like,
this way.
just a
and
little-
act this way.
maybe spoiler, maybe not. As a for instance, at one point there is an accident at a construction site where people are trapped and dying, and Kenton shows up to try to help with his sand mastery, and the construction workers are worried he will hurt them and apologize for the noise of people dying, disturbing his peace. Like, that is the level to which they are held.
Okay,
and he's like, no,
alright,
I'm trying to save this guy's life. Let me in here to help him. And they didn't even think that they would be there to help them. So,
I mean,
Sandmasters suck.
yeah, we don't really get that world building. I mean, I imagine that scene will come
Well,
later, right?
we do.
Mhm. I'm assuming.
Let's table this for
Yeah.
a little while.
Yeah, right.
There is an interesting comment where Kenton mentions that no one knows where the DM building comes from,
That's
and
true.
that it's a white sandstone that does not erode from wind.
That's true. That's true.
So where did it come from?
Okay.
Did autonomy just make it?
Uh-huh.
I guess.
Maybe.
But-
So, like, distant past thing. So, this will not be on Arcanum. This will not be anything. But way, way back in the day, and I could never chase down the original source, when discussion of the White Sand prose was confined to an enormous PM thread of everyone who had read it.
Right.
I remember that.
Someone referenced someone asking Brandon about the DM, like, indirectly. And Brandon, if I recall correctly, had implied there was a similar connection to Elantris in it being an ancient city
Okay, yeah.
that
Okay,
no one
that
really
makes
knows the
sense.
origin of.
Okay.
Citation needed. Someone should ask Brandon about that again, because it'd be
Yeah.
cool to have that on record. But
Yeah,
if I
really
recall
would.
correctly, that was what was being discussed 4 or 5 years ago.
Even if we found that source, like, it's
Yeah.
super paraphrased, so.
Yeah.
But that does make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's a direct Shardic construction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Although why Autonomy would have originally built it when apparently she's not a huge fan of the Sandmasters. Like, maybe it wasn't for them, but
Well, I don't know how. If we're assuming that the Sandlord,
Mhm.
whatever this, maybe directly autonomy or an avatar of autonomy,
Mhm.
we don't know, really. It's not clear what that relationship is between the Sandmasters and the Kirstians, if how much they're making up, like, we have no idea, right?
Interesting to think about, though, I think.
I think that's really cool to think about. What else interesting happens? Now Kenton gets his sand mastery back.
Hooray! That was a really long
Yay.
time of worrying.
I know, it was really a necessary plot point in this. And then we go to the meeting because up to this point, we haven't really gotten it, but this book is about politics. A lot of politics, and it's getting right now, because that's what you wanted in your book about Sandmasters, is politics.
And
Right.
it's the point of the book, so that's
Yeah.
what the book's about.
Yeah.
But
I
we
don't
didn't
see
start
the
with the
issue.
politics, but we didn't start. No, this is like a way through the book already. Like, if your
Nah.
book's about political intrigue, then in Elantris, you have Serene, and it's immediately political intrigue. Like, that's what this plot line's going to be about. Rather than,
But
I don't know.
I just don't have an issue with this in the way that Eric has an issue with this.
Well, my issue is that, and when hopefully it'll be better in the graphic novel, but there's a
I'm
lot
sure.
of politicking, and it goes on a really long time, and it's a lot,
Yeah.
and not a lot happens. Honestly, it is mostly irrelevant. all things
I
considered.
enjoyed reading it in the graphic novel, but if you did not like Elantris and Elantris's politicking,
Oh,
it will
This-
probably
it-
be a challenge for you to enjoy this.
you will not
So,
like White
yeah.
Sand Prose. It's like you just won't. It's
Yeah.
It's not. But Kenton basically manages to stop the meeting, and the other members of the Taisha, the ruling council, want to dissolve the Sandmasters, which is, given what we just talked about with the Sandmasters, makes sense because they're total asshats, basically.
yeah. This is basically like their opportunity. In their minds, this is their opportunity to get rid of a consistent problem.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which totally makes sense. We get more of Ice, and she's talking to someone named Torkel, and wow, it's really great.
Is it Torkel, huh?
We get a whole page of her, and it's really exciting. She thinks that Sharazan is Nilto. Great. I know all about those people. Thus far, Ice has had like less than 10 pages so far.
So they probably should have introduced her a little earlier to like build a rapport with her.
Yeah.
I think she should have.
Or later. One of the two.
I think.
Yeah.
Like start her viewpoints in like part 2.
Yeah, because you obviously get a nice breakpoint with graphic novels. Like you could just start volume 2 with a new character and like, okay, we have a new character. Wow, cool.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of structural stuff I would have done differently.
It just seems weird when you have limited page count to just introduce a character when you could just do it in the next one, especially when the next one's going to have a lot of politicking and Ice is all about that, so we could just put that there and that would make sense, right?
Yeah, and I think the other reason that it stands out kind of oddly is because with the loss of Kriss's early chapters, it's not really clear that Kenton is not the main focus of this until later when he and Kriss separate, because they're just, from the second they introduce Kriss, they're together until they leave. And so we get Ice and we're like, wait, who is, we can't see Kriss's POVs anymore. So we don't know as well that there's actually 3 big characters.
Yeah, that there's a big scope to this. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Until they separate and it becomes more obvious. So that's why I think it comes across like more jarring than
totally.
otherwise.
Yeah, because if we like saw Kriss coming in and interspersed with Kenton and stuff, then then it would feel less jarring, but still comes from nowhere. Wow, John Akron and Cinder have a very exciting conversation about linguistics. Very fun. Character development.
I like that conversation.
I mean, that's the one memorable conversation they have, and it is memorable. They're kind of fun.
Specifically like talking about Lanzair, the Darksider district of Kazare.
Is that when they get flipped, or is that a different point?
I think that might be the point where they get flipped.
Their one conversation, their identities are switched. That's funny.
Well, I can't see them apart anyway, so great. Because we haven't really seen them much. And then Kriss goes to see some dude named Lowton, I think. And who recognizes Kriss being the missing Elysian Duchess. And it turns out we kind of get in these 2 scenes where getting Kenton arguing with the council, and eventually Kenton persuades them that due to legal specifics, which Kenton is good about, which they did describe because Kenton used the law to get under his dad's skin a lot. So that made sense. Mm-hmm. So he knew the law, but since Kenton is the last Mastrel, he needed to be notified, and he wasn't notified. And
basically, like they voted to dissolve the profession of the Sandmasters, and he was panicking, like, okay, like how do I stop this? And it's like he realized, like, when all of the other Mastrels died, he became acting leader of the profession, and he needed to be notified 2 weeks before for it to actually be binding.
And
procedural technicalities.
Oh, just what I wanted. Yeah, I know.
But
I mean, it's fine.
I enjoy that sort of thing.
I know, I do too. I think it's. I just think if you do not enjoy that very specific type of thing, it is. I'm virtually certain a very unfun experience.
I like political intrigue. I just think it's fine in volume 1. I'm worried about it later. Yeah. So Kenton's plot line is gonna be how you have to convince all the profession leaders that the Sandmasters shouldn't be abolished. Fun. Meanwhile, Kriss is talking with
Lowton.
Yeah.
Lowton.
Lowton.
Not Lopin?
No, not Lowton.
No.
Not Lopin. Lowton. Kriss has a betrothed who died.
Gevalar? No. Gevalden. Yep.
Yeah.
And basically, he came to Dayside looking for the Sand Mages.
Yes. Great plan. And
like it's a totally reasonable plan. Like they have no idea there's a problem with it.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Like it's a totally reasonable plan.
You're correct. Yeah.
As much as chasing after a magician, like, you know, a magical story can be a reasonable plan.
Yeah. But, it's their only hope. Like, yes, they're pulling at straws, but it's the only straw they have.
Yeah, which again, and this is one of my least favorite things about White Sand, and another reason it feels like Elantris to me, big, enormous, brooding empire with a magical immortal deity focusing in on the last free country. It feels a little too similar in setting on Darkside to me.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see. Maybe it's more different than that, or like it'll be more interesting, but it feels a lot like Elantris.
Yeah.
That's true. Because Elise is the last free nation. Right?
Actually, speaking of Darkside, there's a comment on the way to meeting Lotan. Like they're going through this passageway, and there's a lot of Darkside flowers on the wall. And if they're actually, it looks like they're bioluminescent.
Oh, are they really? I hadn't noticed that.
Oh, in the Dark Side City? Oh.
Yeah.
And
look.
no, you're totally right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
There's this passageway, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Darkside has some really nifty bioluminescence and
James Cameron Avatar.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's the aesthetic over there. And to the point where Darksiders, their hair, their fingernails, and the whites of their eyes fluoresce.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those things that I just glossed over in the art.
That's not in the book.
It's not it. That's from Brandon himself.
That's from Brandon.
No, I meant no. Sorry. Let me be clear. The glowing flowers when they're walking down. That part. That if it was in text, I probably would have noticed it better. Whereas it's just okay, all right.
Yeah.
And somebody mentions that these are Darkside flowers. There must have been somebody must have specifically ordered them and had them delivered.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of trade between the continents that the Darksiders don't know about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think +1 for the graphic novel for having a cool little thing that I didn't notice that they probably could have done. Just a small detail. I'll give them what they get,
better than us being confused about a radio. I definitely prefer details like this.
Yeah.
Strongly. Kriss meets Nilto at her meeting with Lotan, who's apparently the Lord Beggar, who's also a Taisha.
Not really.
It's kind of.
It's not real not made clear in the graphic novel, but he calls himself a Taisha, but
he's not a
It's
Taisha.
not like the other Taishas actually
who are at the meeting, because he's not.
Yeah.
Bayon wants to shoot Lotan. Very exciting.
Because he's a
traitor?
It's been.
They mentioned that he was a traitor.
That's what it is. Yeah, he's a traitor.
Then after the meeting, Kenton's back at the DM. Dryle's being a jerk. And
before that, actually, one of Kenton's preliminary arguments against the dissolution of the DM is that what is Sand Mastery just going to be outlawed? You're going to hunt down and kill Sand Masters?
There is an important line here.
Oh yeah,
you're right.
And the lady judge, I believe, points out that Sand Mastery doesn't just happen; it has to be taught.
Yes. Let's look at this exact line here. Sand Mastery must be taught. It is not spontaneous. It takes weeks to even decide if a person has the ability or not.
Which I'm going to point out that I don't love this because I don't know why they're doing that ceremony to see if they've got Sand Mastery or not.
Because I think that's
to decide.
After weeks.
Yeah, I think that's after
of preliminary
they don't have
training.
any idea of relative ability because it seems they're Praxton's wait to see if Kenton's this big powerful Sandmaster and
there must be a genetic.
If I recall, there were a few that nothing really happened with, and so maybe I don't know. It felt weird to me where I was I thought they just did that ceremony to see if they could do it. I'm sure there's some prep work going into that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that's what they're talking about here.
But yeah,
a long time ago, I always thought Sand Mastery, because it needs to be trained and you need to work at it. That's kind of how I thought the shard would be something like determination. I think if you remember.
Yeah, no, I do. I thought that was a good idea.
But autonomy makes sense with that too. That you have to really work at it. That other people can't show you that. This kind of I need to.
You can't just be given power.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. You have to really work at it and want it and taught it. I don't know. That makes sense in my brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is kind of interesting though, because then that means this doesn't really. It's not allomancy where, it was weekly in the blood of the people even way back when in Scadrial. And I assume they figured out from trace metals. There's who taught the first Sandmaster, who discovered, the origin is totally, I'm curious what that's going to end up being.
That's true. clearly there's a genetic component still, because not anyone can be a Sandmaster, right? But it is interesting that it's not a snapping type event, right?
Yeah.
With Sand Mastery, and it's a very slow process to see if you have that ability, and you can train it, really.
What if that this ties into Overmastery, where it's like you basically like start with next to no bad, like you have to work at it, like, so it's like you overmaster a whole bunch and then you get like a bare amount of ability. So it's just like so minuscule that like
kind of like exercising a little bit, like just working up the strength.
I mean, that
because I think there has to be a snapping equivalent, because this is an positive magic.
Yeah, it does seem like there needs to be something like that.
Didn't the Elantris essay like obliquely reference Taldain as one of the...
No,
or was
I
it
don't
not
believe
Taldain?
so.
It didn't say it specifically, but I was not 100% sure. I know it referenced like it's like not even Vax and some other world's method of initiation seems to apply here, but maybe it wasn't Taldain.
I had to grab my Arcanum Abounded.
It would have been in Elantris, I think. It's in the Elantris Ars Arcanum.
Talking about initiation. Yeah, it does. We'll talk about what Kriss says on the Taldain system later, but it doesn't actually talk about the initiation on Sand Mastery at all. It doesn't talk about that.
Well, I'm talking about the end of Elantris, but
the Elantris Ars Arcanum.
Well, I was talking about something else.
Okay.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
That's why I said you might want to get Elantris when you were up.
Oh, no.
Yep, here it is. Not even Taldain and Vax's methods do not seem to apply here referencing Brainstorm.
Okay.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, then maybe it's something else.
There is some method of initiation that we know nothing about, that Kriss apparently is an expert in, which makes sense because she's from Taldain.
I mean, there's probably details in the ceremony that we just didn't see, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Right? Like, that would be the logical place. That I don't know. Anyway, Kenton and Dryle are arguing. It's very exciting. It actually does look pretty cool.
This is what like I wish the first battle was like, because like it is dynamic. There's Sand Mastery.
Mm-hmm. Dryle was the one where I kept like not remembering what he looked like. That was the big...
That's true.
That was the big one for me, where I was like, is that Dryle or is that somebody else?
Until this scene where, after the meeting scene where Kenton comes back to the DM, I could not place to you what Dryle is. Dryle is very distinctive after that point, but like I couldn't remember that. But yeah, so Dryle and Kenton fight. Kenton gets Dryle to take off the sash, because Dryle was a Mastral, but was demoted, and then everyone died.
And so he was trying to like, oh yeah, I'm still in charge. I'm still a Mastral. Like, look up to me.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Then we see Kriss. She's trying to meet with Taisha. And this is one of my favorite scenes that's, I think, really effective in the graphic novel. Because we just get panel of the Taisha ignoring Kriss, and then we just get another panel, and we just get 7 panels, and we don't have to read a lot of scenes of her being ignored. We just get to see, I got turned away again due to various reasons, like, the Lord Admiral's on inspection duties and unavailable without a booking. Then we shall book. His booking officer is also on inspection duty. So just getting totally shafted the whole way. And I will say, if the politicking goes well later, if you could really cut out a lot of unnecessary crap like this, because this was a really effective way of doing it.
Yeah, I think this shows the strength of the medium over prose.
Yeah, this was... Yeah, I forget how the prose version does it, but I don't know, it was really effective.
Long. Yeah.
And one other thing, like, in that sequence of panels, one of the locks from, I think it was John Akron's suitcase, like, got broken. So you just see her, like, fiddling with the lock in each panel.
That's true.
Like,
yeah,
and
that's
she
really
fixes
cute.
it.
Yeah.
And that's one of really, like, the only scenes where we see Kriss's scientific bent.
And general competence as a person.
Yeah.
She definitely displays her knowledge. I can kind of see where you're coming from. It kind of comes across in her dialogue, but certainly not as well in the prose.
And there'll be more scenes, because there's a scene with her like on a microscope later in the prose, which I'm hoping that will make it into the second volume, like where she's doing a little more sciencey stuff. But
it's
honestly,
just like so far this is really the first glimpse we get for that part of her personality.
Right, like we didn't get a lot of screen time with Kriss, really, compared with Kenton. We see Ice again with the lady judge. And
she's cool.
The lady judge is cool.
I like the lady judge.
Oh, yeah, no, she's great.
And basically what the lady judge like considers herself, she can't be impartial in the situation, so she's basically turning over her vote to Ice. To like, actually, no, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
She's relying on Ice to give her a read on Kenton, because she knows him as like the upstart kid rebelling against his father.
Yep.
And she knows she can trust Ice because Ice hates Sandmasters, but her impartiality when it comes to the law is well known.
Yeah.
So she knows that if Ice tells her this guy is on the up and up, she can trust that.
Yep. Oh, also the lady judge was kind of a jerk to Kenton during the meeting, but she actually talked with Kenton after and was just like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to be impartial and I wish you luck," kind of thing. It wasn't trying to be a horrible person. There was this is completely way after it actually happened, but way before they get to Kezare. There was one part where Kenton was just a total jerk and said something really mean to Kriss.
He and Kriss are pretty mean to each other in the prose as well. Like their
really
relationship is not a.
It really came out of nowhere in the graphic novel, and he regrets it immediately in the next page. I think it was right before they. Maybe it was right before the Kirstians attacked.
I believe so.
I think so, but
I can't.
But it was just like, man, Kenton, that was not cool. So
yeah, because I think if I recall correctly from the prose, like at some point he does like a little bit of like introspection, or maybe someone says it to him, and he's like, "You're just so used to defying authority that you just do it instinctively now. Like you are just." We get that in the
graphic novel too, which
cool.
Which totally made sense. All of Kenton's internal monologue, I actually think, is totally on point. It's the other world building that I think is maybe not on point on this. You know?
Yeah.
Like Kenton as a character, like you really get into his brain and stuff. We meet Arik, I don't know.
Eric.
I like that they respelled his name. I was not a fan of it just being a regular old Eric.
Yeah, wasn't it spelled like my name?
Yeah, it was. And everyone else's name, Chrisella, Duchess of Elise, and Kenton. And then there's Eric. And I was like, where is he from?
This is not a cameo of me, let me tell you. It is definitely not. Eric's pretty cool, I guess. He was gonna be a merchant and went to dark side, but he returned because reasons. But he's fun, I guess.
It's mentioned that like his father is one of the Taisha.
Yeah. Right. The Lord Merchant, I think.
No, his father is the Lord
he's a Lord
of the
Soldier.
Army.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why he's good with fighting.
Yes, you're right.
But he didn't want to like follow in his father's footsteps, so he ran away.
Right.
His dad actually is kind of a jerk too. There's not a lot of good fathers in this.
Yeah.
No.
Except for, well, I guess Ice was, but now she's a good mother.
Well, that's bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming Ice's husband is a good father.
I suppose.
From what we see of him, he seems good. So
yeah.
We actually do see a good father on screen. In fact, that's the very next scene, David, where we meet.
You're welcome.
Ice is has a daughter named Melanie, I guess. And it's pretty cute, I guess. We see in Melanie's bedroom that there's just a regular lampshade, as if you're just in modern day. So, not really sure what this Lysandan technological level is supposed to be, but okay, cool.
Yeah, they don't have electricity.
No,
They can't possibly. Like,
no. Why would you need a lampshade when you don't have
I don't. Maybe they got a candle, like, and it's far away from the candle, so it doesn't catch on fire, because that'd be bad. But
Possibly, but it looks incredibly incongruous.
It's page 143 if you're on the ebook.
Yeah, let me.
Happens. But
there are page numbers. Okay.
yeah.
In the ebook, not the physical version.
Gotcha.
And Ice's husband is worried that the underground's gonna kill the family too, so that's reasonable. And then we got one last scene where
basically Kriss wants
up.
to meet the final profession head because she's tried 7 and they haven't worked out.
And it's Kenton.
Which is pretty fun. I like that.
It's a pretty good way to end because it ends with Kenton floating with Sand Mastery and being pretty neat, cool looking.
Yeah. At one point he's like, well, you never actually asked if I was a Sandmaster.
That's true. That's true.
Which I found hilarious.
That is true.
And that's volume 1.
And that's volume 1. So,
we have some general things to discuss.
What do you guys want to talk about? What are your
So
feels?
we alluded to this earlier on, but there are random faces in the clouds and the rocks in the background sometimes. Like made of clouds and made of rock. Which Brandon has said that did come from Brandon. That's not just the artist doing things.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he wishes it wasn't quite as obvious as it is.
Really? I'm really dumb because I can't find them.
There, if you read it a second time, like they really start popping out of places. But
I'm just
and there
such
is
not
a
visual
thread
person.
on the forums where people have taken screenshots of each face.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. I'm just such not a visual person. It's so hard for me to pay attention.
Yeah, this is probably autonomy watching stuff, I would think.
Something. I'm very curious with autonomy, if there's a lot of avatars here or not. It's really not clear. It was never really clear.
Yeah, and that's something that wasn't been clear. Like when Brandon says there are people who worship pantheons where every member is autonomy. Yeah. I'm like, are there 7 aspects, or is there one aspect that still does putting on faces?
We're not using the word aspect.
I'm gonna say
no.
I still think aspect is a way better word.
But that's not the word that's in the letter.
Yeah,
I don't care. Like,
well, that's what we're canonizing it to. We're using avatar.
I'm not going to use avatar.
I think it's going to... Everyone knows what we're talking about, though. We will write the wiki article with the term avatar.
Yes, we will.
But
colloquially, I'm going to call them aspects, because that makes more sense
way to confuse people. You also like capitalizing the word intent, so,
I don't see an issue with that. So.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem. Anyway, yeah, so that's...
Ultimately, I'm going to try and get Brennan to not call them avatars, because they're not avatars.
There's the real plan behind
There's the real plan. But we already have Aspect in Legion, so,
Yeah.
Yes, but this has more to do with the aspects from Legion than what avatars are. So.
Maybe Stephen Leeds is Providence.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but okay.
Yep. Nailed it.
That's what Legion 3 is going to be. It's
actually
Taldain from a different POV. Yeah, it'll be. We'll all see.
Moving on. I agreed.
Hoyd supposedly does appear in Volume 1.
Great.
I think Brandon is wrong. I have not. Did anyone see him?
Peter has said this, actually.
What?
And there is a character that is in the background of some crowd scenes once they get to Khazair. That it's this guy in a hood with like a stringed instrument that keeps popping up. That people think,
does he have an arrow-like face?
We don't see his face. He has a hood up.
Or you're gonna say like an arrowhead tattoo, and I was like, he's not the Avatar. Eric,
No,
but
no. Hoid is always described with a very angry
with the arrow-shaped face. Yeah.
Yes.
His hair color is variable.
Yes.
But, yeah, that was one thing, because like Brandon has mentioned before that like Hoid's role is going to be beefed up in this from the prose version.
Oh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
He has said
because in the prose version, Brandon claims that Hoid had a small role being referenced as one of Ice's past cases or something, and I have read the entire thing looking for that specific reference and have been unable to find. I was already going to read it, but I was like, let's keep an eye out this time and let's find where Hoid is, and I don't know what his role was, so it's going to be pretty different now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll
because people, the Cosmere is way more important to people than Brandon thought it was going to be.
Brandon
so it's
really wanted to keep it on the down low for a long time, and we just were like, we're really interested. Tell us all the things.
So this is Bayon. He's a world hopper.
Yep.
Kriss is a world hopper.
Yep.
Ice is female now.
Yep.
It's a big like world hopper introduction, like right there when Kriss and Bayon both walk into the room.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah, it is cool.
Going through that, so we kind of talked about our critique, but do you have any other critique? Like we were saying, the world building didn't really come through, and I think I'm definitely down with that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if anything else that like really, really bothered me, and we kind of touched on it too, is the loss of Kriss's early chapters / just like not as much what's going on in her head, because I really enjoyed her perspective and like, you know, of her being kind of silency. Like she's got like an anthropology angle to it too, which is something Shallan does not have. So it was like, you know, she's analyzing this culture as a person who's like looking at it for the first time, which was cool for the reader because they're also experiencing it for the first time. It was a nice way to like introduce it, and it just doesn't. And I get that it could have been contracted or anything like that, but I feel like we lost a lot of who Kriss's personality has not come across very strongly at this stage, which bums me out because she is so instrumental.
One of my biggest issues with Volume 1, it has been the wait for Volume 2.
Yeah.
Because I think if we had all 3 volumes, it would be much stronger.
Uh-huh.
But we don't.
Yeah. Because this is one volume of one part of a trilogy of books, and it's like, we don't really have a lot.
Because like I remember a lot of people complaining that not that much happens.
Yeah,
and
right.
Remember, Brandon's books are very end heavy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff happens at the end. This is all build up and not really a lot of resolution. This is why Brandon doesn't like splitting the Stormlight books. Because it...
Yeah. Can you imagine just splitting a book and why it's taken so long to get the next one? And it won't be Shadows to Ban's time break.
Yeah,
those books are.
That was so great.
So I'm not really a big fan of where it ended. I think it would have been better to end with the ultimatum from the Taisha Council is like, this is what you have to do. And just end it there.
Yeah.
I don't know where Kriss's arc would have quite ended.
Yeah, because you do kind of need a little more. Then it would have felt weirder in other aspects, but there's not like a perfect way to do it.
That was my initial belief where they were going to break it, Ian, when I was wondering before it came out. So
yeah, and I would have held off on to introduce Ice until the start of Volume 2.
Yeah.
Have Kriss find out that Kenton is the 8th Taisha.
Yeah.
At the beginning of that and have that arc go.
I guess the whole logic with Ice being introduced is to get it so the Lady Judge can say, hey, tail Kenton. And so in Volume 2, we're immediately going to get that. But her stuff is just, whoa, this is not related to anything else we're doing.
The only nice thing about Kriss seeing Kenton, and like realizing he's the 8th Taisha is that it is a resolution to Kenton misleading her or like not knowing. Like that plot line is over, and okay, now at least they're on the same page.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. And one of my hopes for Volume 2 is we actually get a flashback to Kriss's journey from Darkside
I would be so stoked. I would stop complaining pretty quickly.
I would be stoked with any flashbacks to anything on Darkseid. Anything. I'll take anything. I don't know how much we would need to see of that, because we kind of got a kind of flashback where Kriss was seeing that Kirsty and Priest, where they docked, right? We kind of got that. So I'm not sure how much plot relevant stuff there is, but I'm totally with you that if we don't see more of Kriss and that science-y mindset, I will be upset. I'm not upset right now because it kind of comes through, and she's cool enough.
Yeah.
But
I do have trouble like really saying, oh, this was bad without seeing volume 2 and 3, because I don't think we're going to be able to assess whether this was a successful adaptation or an unsuccessful adaptation until we see the entire thing.
I guess, but I really do think if an installment does not stand strongly on its own, then it's a little silly. Like, I think that it needs to be good on its own for people to want to buy it.
Absolutely.
I can't say
exist in a vacuum.
if I had no experience with Brandon stuff, if this was the only thing that I read, I don't know if I'd be like, man, I'm really waiting for volume 2. Like,
I would not be.
No.
Like, maybe, but it would kind of more be like, oh, volume 2's out. I guess I'll get that sometime. That would be the extent of my hype.
Yeah, I think this really suffers from the fact that it was originally written as a prose novel.
Yeah.
Like, it really hampers it. If this had been written to be a graphic novel, it would have been plotted differently.
Yeah.
Because people expect a bound collection to have a satisfying arc. That is something I've noticed, that reading trade paperbacks of comics, that when there is not a cohesive arc in the trade paperback, it's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like on Goodreads, which has a pretty strong like pro Brandon Sanderson bias. If you like look at the relative reviews,
it's true. They like him.
This is the lowest rated thing with Brandon's name attached to it that he had any level of involvement in, because they did have the Mistborn adventure game, like non-canon, written by someone else thing attached to him for a while, and he didn't do that.
Yeah. That prose is not attached to Brandon, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's like a 3.6, which isn't like a very strong rating for a place that already has a strong Brandon Sanderson bias. Like, it is not very well received, I personally believe.
I mean,
I think now the assessment has gone more positive, but initially, like, there were a lot of people that had issues with it. Some reasonable, some not. Like, there were people complaining about the size of the book, and it's like, that's industry standard.
Kind of expensive.
Like, don't complain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or the price for how much they got, and that's also industry standard. Like, comics are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just thinking, some people were like, man, I don't want to spend this much for an Oathbringer ebook. I'm like, you get a lot of an entertainment per dollar compared with a movie.
Yeah.
A lot. So I don't know. It's not that unreasonable, but yeah, if you're not used to those standards, then yeah. But art's expensive. Art's that's the thing, guys. When you have Brandon writing a thing, maps are expensive, but still, there's not really that much art. Most of the work is made by one person. And I mean, now certainly, like with a Stormlight book, it's a big endeavor with editing and all the art going in there. But art is not cheap. Art is very much not cheap if you want it to be good.
Good art is very not cheap.
Especially when like you're making an entire thing, whereas in Stormlight, all right, we're going to have these 10 things, right, or whatever.
And you can have multiple artists working on different things, because it's not like there's one cohesive arc that needs to be portrayed.
Right. So, I mean, it's just how graphic novels go. I would be really bummed if we had another like 2 and a half, 2 year break from volume 3.
Yeah,
that would suck.
I have not heard anything about volume 3.
No.
Like release date projections on any level.
No.
yeah.
Honestly, the hype for White Sand, pretty low. Of course, happy to have you guys listening about it. But it's like solidly all right. But if you're not into the Cosmere, I wouldn't recommend it to
Are
anyone.
people aware? Because like I kind of wasn't that it was coming out this month because I just kept hearing that the date was being moved, and I know some of that was Amazon.
That's the problem. That's the problem with rolling dates like this. Your hype just lowers and lowers. Whereas like a big book, if it's coming out this day, you get maybe one delay before people really start losing the hype, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe one. But
and that's probably not Dynamite's fault.
No,
I know
well,
Amazon
I mean,
likes to do
it was
stuff,
Amazon's fault.
but it
Yeah.
did not help people being ready for
No.
this volume.
well, it could also be that Dynamite didn't have a date to give Amazon, and so Amazon just guessed. And
Yeah, that's what happened. Amazon guessed at a date, so
which might indicate that maybe Dynamite should have told them something. I don't know, but
they didn't know what
right
when it was
sure.
going to be ready. Like
Sure. It makes sense. Would you rather read this as a novel than a graphic
Yes.
novel? Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to throw that out.
Okay,
there.
let me rephrase that.
Yes.
Would I have rather read this as a prose novel? Yes. Now that it is a graphic novel, I want it to succeed.
Okay. I mean, yeah, me too. The prose version had some issues, I would say. Brandon would admit they have some issues.
Oh yeah, Brandon's not shy about the issues his earlier work suffer from. He's pretty open about that stuff.
Yeah, so if you get the unpublished stuff, realize you're getting Elantris quality stuff here. Worse than Elantris. I think it's
minus
justified.
the polish. Yeah.
I think it's justified that Elantris was the one that got published, personally. Out of White Sand, Dragonsteel, and Elantris.
Elantris.
Elantris is the best of them, I think.
Yeah. Or at least having only read White Sand, I think Elantris is better. So.
You can just tell even from the Dragonsteel sample chapters.
That's true. Actually, yeah,
thing.
There's some.
That is not amazing.
That Bridge 4 sequence is rough, but
that was the best part. That was the best.
That is so sad.
It really is. But growing as a writer, obviously Oathbringer.
Oh yeah.
So much better written, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my concern has always been with the graphic novels. How much involvement has Brandon have in fixing the issues that White Sand had? Because there were issues, and really, I mean, we had Ice change gender.
Which I do think that was Brandon. I'm pretty sure that was.
Yeah, I think so too.
He was involved in writing the scripts.
Okay.
So he was involved, but
Okay.
he turned over like most of the day-to-day oversight to Isaac and Peter, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. He's got stuff to do. But
he's got a few books coming out in a couple years.
I personally always thought the beginning of White Sand prose was the best part of that book. And when I'm reading this and I'm like, yeah, that was all right, but not like amazing. I'm very worried for the next 2 volumes in that sense because
See, I enjoyed the rest of the book. I liked the politicking. I liked how it was all set up because it's a classic trope. This goes back to the trials, the 12 labors of Hercules. Like here are these 7 people you have to sway.
Yeah, your task.
Go at it.
All right.
Uh-huh.
That's fun.
It was a very classic storyline. I
see.
do kind of think that this might have been the wrong one of Brandon's books to maybe adopt to a graphic novel.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Like Mistborn, and I know you made that comment on Reddit about potentially turning Birthright into a graphic novel, Ian, which was a great idea, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be good.
That'd be so cool.
That would be great.
That politicking is not terribly interesting to watch in a visual format. You can do a lot more with description, with like facial cues and like really detailed stuff in the
the
written
flowers
form,
on the walls. Like, hey,
Yeah,
you don't even need to say anything, right?
Yeah, so why is there like this was the wrong medium. This is the wrong story for this medium, I think.
But going back to my comments at the very beginning where I talked about the Dresden Files comics, which I really enjoyed. So
yeah, you can totally see that working well.
Yeah, back when I first was reading those and then White Sand, I was like, okay, why did I enjoy the Dresden Files comics way more than this? And I think it was because with the Dresden Files comics, I already knew the character and the world from reading the novels. So they had less work to do. They could just tell a fun story. And it's like, this is why comics are so successful. We know who Batman is. You don't have to explain who Batman is to have a good Batman.
In every Batman
comic.
Story, that would
I'd probably get a little old.
terrible. That would be terrible.
So I think it would have been better to have a spin-off story. Like I would love to see Bax and Wayne and Leslie's adventures in the Roughs. I would love to see Kelsier and Mayor being thieves in the Final Empire. Like, I would.
Yeah. Mistborn would really work really well in in that medium. Well, it would be kind of hard for emotional allomancy, but
they could do a small visual effect, though. You know what I mean? Like the blue lines, they could make a small change, and I think indicate that.
But I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, Stormlight would be a great anime," and it really would. Like it would work really well in that kind of format. But I don't know if me reading White Sand Prose, you know what this needs to be? Graphic novel. Nailed it. So
it's such a weird world that you need the not info dumps, but the info dumps in the prose to give you
some context
for everything.
You need the context because we don't have the context before.
Like Warbreaker, like something on Naltis could work. You don't
with all the color.
need to go.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
It's just
that's
this, and I'm worried that if people just discount White Sand and it's a flop, that Brandon's not going to do more graphic novels.
That we won't get.
That's
cool
why
graphic
I want
novels.
it to succeed.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you there. I did think that the Mastral's Path part was cool art wise, and like the fight with Dryle and Kenton near the end, like that was visually striking, and Kezare looked cool. But this book is a lot about talking, talking, which is not maybe necessarily what you'd want in a graphic novel. Really. I mean, they're pretty dialogue heavy as it is. There's lots of dialogue and stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah, like my perspective, which it differs from Ian's, although that does make more sense to me now that what you're concerned about is not White Sand, but just the future of Cosmere graphic novels that can potentially be better.
Which
that
totally
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I think that, like outside the main Cosmere like structure books, you know what I mean, like the pillars, which are Stormlight, sounding like Elantris, Mistborn with Yolan in the background, you know?
Yep.
Like, the side worlds have purposes to them, like, much more directly. Like, Warbreaker is to introduce Nightblood and Vasher.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's the whole reason that world exists.
Exactly.
And I feel like Taldain, that's Kriss. This is here to show us what Kriss is, and I feel like it's not doing a very good job at one of, like, what will probably be, like, the top 5 most important characters, and her origin kind of sucks. Which I'm not happy about.
I feel like he should have kept the main Cosmere stories as novels.
Yes.
Because that's what Brandon writes.
I mean,
he should have used graphic novels for side supplemental stories.
To fill in the background. Yeah.
I know why we got a graphic novel is because I don't have time to revise this. This is the only way people can get this. But I don't know if that's the best
necessarily
reason.
agree that was a good enough reason.
I don't think that's the best, because if you imagine a side story, like, that would require Brandon to, like, script it and stuff, right? And whereas White Sand is scripted, but I'm just worried, well, you needed to revise that.
We do see, like, Brandon going towards that with Alcatraz 6. Like he's writing the outline and then turning it over to someone else.
He better not become James Patterson, but anyway.
No, I don't think he wants to either.
No, I don't think so either.
Actually, what Jim Butcher does, like he plots out the story and then he turns it over to someone else who actually like writes.
You're
kidding? What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I had never heard that.
Jim Butcher? No, really?
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
If that is true, I had no idea about that. And I'd say I'm like a low medium
Dresden
Dresden
that way?
No, the comics. The Dresden comics.
Oh, okay.
I was like, why is he spending so much time writing Peace Talks?
Why are you objecting?
Where's the outline?
No, we were just shocked. No, yeah. Well, obviously, in comics or any graphical medium, someone who's good in text doesn't know this is how the dialogue needs to be laid out on this page. And so that thing that you're trying to do, you can't do. We got to do it slightly differently and stuff. Like it's much more collaborative with just everything. But I thought you were indicating something else. So
yeah, and I was like, man, I did not. That is not well known.
No.
Yeah.
Here's the big question, though.
Yeah, the crux of my argument too.
What happens after Volume 3? Because this is one book of a trilogy.
Yeah, and heads up, like not a real spoiler. Volume 1, like all of White Sand, what we will see at the end of the third graphic novel is a heavy cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It is like I would say that that White Sand on its own probably has more of a cliffhanger than I like in a novel. So I don't know how that's going to work going forward.
Yeah, are we like gonna get more of the graphic novels that will take a year and a half to 2 years each?
I pray not.
See, again, I don't think this should have been a graphic novel, but it is a graphic novel, and I think we need to live with it. And I think that going forward, it will be written to be a graphic novel. They're not going to be adapting a prose novel so I think going forward, it might be stronger.
I guess. I'm just curious, like, how involved Brandon will be in, like, the scripting. His dialogue is much better now, so I think I actually would like to see the dialogue written by him.
Yeah.
And, like...
Which he could still do.
Which he could still do, but, like, at a certain point, and Brandon has mentioned this, and this is my still sincere hope, and I know that Ian disagrees with me, is that at the conclusion of this 3, Brandon will have spent a lot of time thinking about it and like working through what he liked and what he didn't about the graphic novel. I know he wants to get rid of slatrification because he doesn't think it makes sense anymore, which is...
Did he say that? Is that what he said?
Yeah, no, he doesn't like it. He said that
which makes me incredibly angry.
Yeah, but anyway, so... in Brandon's reference this, that he's thought about still doing it as a prose novel, and that is my sincere hope, is that he'll come back, do a revision, because it is not in that bad of a shape, especially if he spent the last 3 years thinking about how he wants to fix it and restructure it for the graphic novel and seeing what works.
It's probably like a 3 to 6 month job of revising and rewriting it.
Yeah.
My main issue with that is a fundamental condemnation of the graphic novel as a failure.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean,
it's just like
Brandon's apparently said that Volume 1 sold quite well, he said.
I know it did, which is why I'm curious what the sales on Volume 2 are going to be.
I mean, I haven't seen it physically ever in a bookstore, but, I don't know. I could not find it in, at least where I live, but I live in the middle of...
I ordered it online, so I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It's like, did you go to a bookstore or did you go to a comic store? Because it was probably more likely to be in a comic store.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I am really curious to see the sales numbers on book 2 with the problem with the release date and it not being super well received. How people are going to stick around for the second one. Because I'm still going to buy it. Yeah. Still love Brandon. Still love the story. Still want to see how it
within a month,
out,
we're doing another one of these podcasts. We're going to do the same thing.
And you'll hear why I'm still mad, but...
maybe not.
Going forward, like, they have to bring down the wait times. Like, it's... Yeah. I understand why Brandon didn't want it to be released as individual issues. He wanted to wait until there's a clump.
That's not surprising.
It goes back to like the issues with the Wheel of Time comic. But I think if we had individual comic releases like steadily going along, the wait for the collections wouldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, because this, and you know graphic novels better than I do, Ian. This year-long wait for a big chunk of story is not the way the industry does it normally, is it?
No, they really.
It's just
usually
still issues.
It's like a month for like DC Comics. Like they, most of their series, like they release one issue a month.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was the way it was still done.
Would they be like 150 pages though each per issue?
No. They do one chapter from this.
Oh,
would
okay.
be released,
Right.
like maybe 30 pages, and then maybe they don't start releasing trade paperbacks until later on.
I see.
And then like I know that in the past they've been spotty on that, but since the Rebirth initiative that started in 2016, they've been very steady. So like monthly titles, like every 6 months, you get the trade paperback.
Seems like a pretty good system.
Yeah.
But
it's been working great.
I think if for us, Sanderson fans, having things split up into small chunks, it's like, we're
not used to that.
We are not used to that, especially if you're not used to how comics work. But even still, this wait's been a really long time for this one.
And Brendan did mention that Dynamite waited to see how Volume 1 sold before starting work on Volume 2. So hopefully like they've been working on Volume 3. So it won't be as long, but without talking to Brandon, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately for us guys, we don't need to decide whether Brandon writes a White Sand prose version or not, or what these sequels would be. But it's interesting to talk about.
Ultimately, Brandon's going to do what Brandon's going to do.
Yeah.
And we have to live with it.
Which I have been. Yeah.
Any last thoughts? I think we kind of talked about all the things, but any last thoughts on this first volume in Taldain?
I want an illustrated Ars Arcanum for the end of this. I think that'd be really cool.
Yes,
that'd be
I would.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's not my idea. Someone else had that, but
yeah. And Brandon said like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. We'll maybe do something like that," which I'm hoping they do.
Yeah,
but like, not necessarily an Ars Arcanum, but the writings that would eventually become an Ars Arcanum.
Oh, like a proto.
Yeah, proto Ars Arcanum. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Because Krissala is not Kriss yet.
Yeah, she hasn't grown up to be what she is. Cool. Yeah, I mean, we'll be back later. Probably not the week of the 20th, but a bit later.
Yeah.
We'll collect our thoughts. I don't really think a lot of you are going to be like, oh man, I'm super hyped to read this. So I think we might wait a little bit. Might give you a little more Stormlight stuff. Although we do have something that might be very exciting for you next week. They'll be quite different from what we usually do. But
yes. Not that we're going to tell you what it is.
No,
you'll have to wait and see.
Not at all. In case something goes wrong. But follow us on SoundCloud, subscribe on YouTube. You can follow 17th Shard on Twitter and Facebook. And of course, you can just come to 17thshard.com and our Discord, which is linked below wherever you're listening to this. You can chat with us. You can chat about White Sand or whatever you want to do.
Yell at Wendy that he's wrong.
About how much I hate it, but...
All right, David, you were very, I think your criticisms are not unwarranted.
I appreciate that.
But when we talk in private when we're not recording, you're a little,
I'm a little angrier about it.
Yeah, a little angrier. Yeah. But we're a professional operation. We definitely didn't miss an episode last week, but anyway.
We had an episode-ish.
Well, it's not a real episode. I saw the view counts. I appreciate everyone who viewed it, but definitely more dislikes than usual, which is that's fair. But hope you enjoyed that anyway. Hope you enjoyed this one too, and we will see you again later.
Bye.
Bye.
Caw.